Hello, everyone. I'm Professor Vinod, and welcome to Career Bolt. So today's conversation is going to be about something interesting, which is that the IIT entrance exam results have come out, and everybody's asking this question as to what branch should I choose, what specialization should I choose as I look at options within the IITs in India in terms of engineering schools, the NITs, the triple ITs. There are so many private engineering colleges and so on. So first thing first, Bibin and I, both of us are co-founders of Career Bolt. We've come up with a tool which will help students understand what are their skills and strengths. So there's a free assessment tool available at careerbolt.app/assessments/branch selection. Just go to careerbolt.app, go to assessments tab. Under that, there'll be something called branch selection. Click that. So we'll ask you around 50 questions. And based on the answers to the questions, you're going to get immediately feedback in terms of what are your top branches and specializations which will suit your strengths. And what are some of the, out of the top 10, we'll give you 3 good fits, 4 which are an average fit, but it's not a bad fit. You could improve in these areas in the future, and 3 branches which are at the bottom and which are not a good fit for you based on your current skills. So do take it up, and I think that's important for you to know what are your skills and strengths. So the number one perspective when it comes to choosing your branch is that identify what are you good in, and then choose a branch. So for example, I'm a mechanical engineer by training, and when I did mechanical engineering, I was very sure that I was not cut out for computer science. And even today, I've just not been able to learn coding. I've tried very hard, but it has not been my forte and strength. So I knew very early on that that was not for me. And it was based on self reflection. And this tool is going to make it very easy for you. So if you are not cut out for computer science, it's a great way to realize that maybe that's not for you. Don't force yourself into computer science just because everybody else is doing it. Again, I'm going to go through a bunch of things you should be looking at when it comes to branch selection. So first thing first, look at skills. Keep skills at the center and build your career around it. So not that you choose what others are doing and keep it at the center and then build your career around it. It's not going to work out that way. So first thing first, place skills at the center. Second thing is look at the job market in India. So the labor market is very important because it is not necessary that everyone will find a job when they graduate. As an example, let me tell you that there are around 2.5 lakh jobs being generated in India every year, around 250,000 jobs. Out of those jobs, you have around 170,000 jobs which are jobs in computer science and data analytics. The remainder, which is around 80,000 jobs, they are every other branch put together. All the core engineering branches like civil, mechanical, chemical, biotech, all of them put together is still a small fraction of the total jobs being generated in India. So if you really want to find a job in India, getting a job is your immediate focus. You should be choosing computer science because that's where the jobs are, and data analytics. That's really where the jobs are. So ask yourself, what is it you want to do? Do you want to go for higher studies? Do you want to do an MBA later? Do you want to do an MS later? Do you want to do a PhD? Is that what you want to do? Do you want to do your UPSC preparation, civil services preparation? Do you just want a job? You should know what you want to do, and these things will determine what is it you should ultimately end up in. If you want to study abroad, what's very important is not exactly where you go to college, but what you study. That's more important. So if you're really passionate about a certain field like biotechnology or civil engineering, please choose that branch wherever you get it. It doesn't matter that you have to be in a top college. If you really like a space, go for it, because interest is very important. If you're going to go abroad, it really doesn't, your college reputation matters less and your interest matters more. And your interest matters more, and that'll come across in your statement of purpose, the work you put in into learning additional stuff, what is happening in your space, and so on. So if you want to do a PhD, you should be very interested in your field. You're not fake interest. And just don't choose a college because you get something there. If you really want to go in deep, you need to have interest. And interest comes by doing what you like and what you want to do. So highly recommend that you totally focus on branch rather than college when it comes to studying outside. Okay, I'm also going to get into a little bit of details here. So if you want to do an MBA abroad, it really doesn't matter where you go to college. If you go to any of the top colleges, it's okay because there's not too much of a distinction when it comes to MBA programs. But especially if you target the top 5, top 10 MBA programs, yes, there is a little bit of a preference for students from IITs and NITs in India. So again, that's something for you to factor in. If you're looking at a PhD program, you'll find that the best faculty in India are at the IIScs and IITs. So definitely it is worth for you to go to IITs. And again, I'm hoping that the branch you choose at IITs is exactly what you want to do with your lives. And the idea for you is to work under professors during your time at IITs. So if you study at IITs and do not do any research work, then your chances of getting into a PhD program is minimal. You could have gone to any college for that matter. If you go to IIT, you need to utilize that opportunity, work with professors and get some research journals out or research papers out, or at least get some paper presentations out or poster presentations, right? Something's got to be done during your time at IITs. Don't waste that opportunity. And if you've done good work with the professor, yes, then your time at IITs makes sense. And most of the folks who get into the top universities like Stanford, MIT, Berkeley, they are heavily biased towards students from IITs. And I've seen this across the different places I've been in. I've been to the University of Washington, Seattle. I've been at Wisconsin, Madison, Cornell. And yes, there's a bias for IIT students and top schools. Like there are other schools like IISc in India. Those who have done an MTech from IIScs have a great advantage for master's programs. Those who go to the Indian Statistical Institute for Statistics Research also do really well in the US. So there are some good schools. If you go to the good schools, yes, then your chances of getting into PhD programs goes up dramatically. Similarly, for UPSC preparation, if you want to get into civil services, where you go to college matters more important than your branch because it doesn't really matter what branch you study. It's all about you're shifting gears to a totally new space called UPSC and civil services. So where you go to college does matter. If you go to IITs, yes, there's an advantage when it comes to getting into the UPSC and getting into the IAS or IFS cadres in India. I'd also add that if you're focused on, say, for example, going to an MBA program, going to IIMs, I've seen that about 50 to 60% of the students who join most of the top 3 IIMs are for undergraduates from the IITs. So yes, if you go to IITs, you do have an advantage when it goes means getting into an IIM, Ahmedabad, Bangalore, or Calcutta. So yes, for an MBA in India, it does matter. Similarly, if you're applying for, say, MBA abroad in the top schools like Harvard, Stanford, Wharton, and so on, yes, an IIT degree will also matter. So there, if you really want to do an MBA, it really doesn't matter what your branch and specialization is because MBA is a completely new branch. You learn everything from scratch once again. UPSC is something new where you learn from scratch. MBA is something where you learn everything from scratch. And it's not connected to your undergrad degree. So that way, your college will matter more than your branch. So if you want to, again, go for an MBA abroad, maybe going to IITs would help you. So that's one piece. Also understand the fact that if you want to get a high paying job, you need to be in computer science and data analytics. And the fact remains that there are some places where a lot of consulting companies come, a lot of finance companies come, and they typically tend to be the top 5 IITs in India. And if you really want to get into a top consulting company or a top finance company and have a career, then you need to absolutely focus on college rather than branch. The reason why I'm saying this is because the best consulting companies like McKinsey, Bain, BCG, they come to IITs. They don't care about which branch you are in. As long as you can clear their consulting case preparation rounds, you will get in. And to apply for these places, they don't care about which specialization you're in. Again, they just go to a small number of colleges. So you have to be in the colleges where they recruit. And they tend to be pretty much the IITs, the top IITs. That's where they recruit from. So if you really want to get into finance or consulting, then IITs is probably what you should be shooting for. Branch doesn't matter. You could be from civil engineering, you could be from naval architecture, you could be from mining. Doesn't matter if you want to get into consulting and finance. But companies which come for computer science placements in IITs, they pretty much focus on computer science, electrical engineering students. They do not typically extend to the core engineering branches like mechanical, civil, and so on. There are exceptions, but the most reputed companies like Google, Facebook, Amazon, they are very selective. They only want computer science, electrical engineering students. So if you really want to get into Amazon, Facebook, Google, and those sort of companies, target the IITs for the top branches. If you do not get the top branches at IITs, then try to get into the NITs or the triple ITs. Then still your chances of getting into these companies still exist. And if you don't get into these places, then it is a matter of getting some work experience and then applying for these companies. You can get into these companies anytime in your life. It's not like you only have one shot, but you have to be in computer science, electrical engineering to get into many of these top companies. But also these companies have a lot of openings in production, supply chain, operations, and so on. So even with a mechanical background, with a civil engineering background, you can get in, but it's just that it'll happen a little later, not early in your career, but later in your career after 5 to 10 years. The other thing I wanted to say is that most people in IITs, around 10 to 20% of people are the people who choose core engineering jobs. 70 to 80% of students choose jobs in computer science, data analytics, finance, and consulting. So really branch doesn't matter. Most people don't stick to the branch. They all move on to different spaces. So that's how it is in the top IITs, and that's a trend across India. Other thing I also want to discuss is point 5, which is that software engineering is not something you learn by listening to lectures. So choosing computer science as a specialization is not really about going to classrooms or getting a degree. It doesn't matter what your degree is, but can you code well? Do you understand data structures and algorithms? Do you understand competitive programming? Do you understand systems design? These are things which cannot be taught. You have to learn these things by yourself. You have to spend time and pick up these skills. I've gone to IITs, I've gone to tier 2 schools. Students there passionate about computer science spend 10 to 12 hours a day coding. Even weekends are coding. Saturday, Sundays are coding in the computer lab. And holidays are coding. They forget everything. They're just coding all the time. So there's a lot of interest in that space. So it is not about going to classrooms. You have to practice and learn after you come home, right? That's really what is required in computer science. So I feel that computer science cannot be taught. You have to pick up the skills in terms of, there's a lot of ways. You can go to HackerRank, you can go to LeetCode, NeetCode. There's just a lot of places to pick up computer science skills. So a real formal degree, I don't think will help you much. It is more about you spending hard work and learning from it. At the same time, I also want to add a caveat saying that a lot of skills, especially in AI, ML, is getting into various disciplines. So for example, Shell used to recruit a lot of students at IIT Madras for hardcore production engineering positions. Of late, they moved completely away from these positions and are only selecting people from IITs who have knowledge of data analytics. So what this means is that if you want to do well in any discipline, whether it be manufacturing, production, and so on, which are not directly linked to computer science, you still need data analytics skills. You need to know how to code. You need to know how to play with data, how to run complex algorithms and run regression models and so on. So you just need to be comfortable using all these data points. And for that, you just need to pick up these skills side by side. You need to understand machine learning. You need to understand a bit of artificial intelligence, irrespective of whichever branch you are in or whichever specialization you are in. You could be in civil engineering, but you should still know how to code. You should know how to work in Python, C, all that stuff, right? You've got to pick it up, and data structures and algorithms. So it doesn't matter which branch you're in, you have to pick up these skills in the future. The only problem is that if you're doing a core branch, then you have to meet the requisites of your core branch to graduate and also pick up computer science skills. So you're trying to do two things at the same time. It's a little easier for computer science students because they're only focused on one thing. So they just need to pick up skills in computer science. But a student in mechanical engineering has to learn mechanical engineering, get a degree in mechanical engineering, and also prepare for computer science and beat students in computer science. So it's a little difficult. It's not impossible. There's a lot of time during undergrad to learn these things. You got 4 full years, but that's something I want you to look at seriously. The other point I also wanted to say is that just be thoughtful about the decisions made by your seniors. There's something called opening and closing ranks across different schools, which is a holy grail when it comes to making selections. And this is how it was 30 years back. This is how it was 50 years back. And I think everyone is just following whatever decisions which are made by their seniors. I personally wouldn't ignore it completely, but I would say do not give it more than 25% of the weightage for your final choice. At least 50% of the weightage for your final choice should be based on what you are good in, the skills assessment I talked about. So go to careerbolt.app, and there's going to be an option there called assessments, and there's going to be an option there called branch selection. So careerbolt.app/assessments/branch selection. Go there. I'll put the link in my YouTube description. Check it out. Take up the assessment. That should be 50% of your weightage. You should look at other factors like labor market. Do you want to go abroad? Do you want to go for higher studies? And also, what are some of the opening and closing ranks from the previous years? So look at all the data and then make a decision. So the decision you make is going to be completely unique. It's for you. Do not benchmark with other people. And again, people blindly do things what others have done, and that's not good for you as a career. You will burn yourself out if you don't like the space. I met innumerable students doing computer science at IITs who are like, I don't want to code. I don't want a job in computer science. I want to go to do something else. They're like, I want to go to IIMs, do an MBA. And I'm like, wait, why do you want to do an MBA from IIM straight out of undergrad? Because they're like, I hate this space I'm in. I want nothing to do in computer science. And it happens in IITs. I think around 10 to 20% of students in IITs have no interest in computer science, but still end up doing computer science because that's what everybody else is doing. And that's supposed to be top notch. You have to look at yourself and ask yourself, is that for me? And then see whether that career choice you make makes sense for you in the long term. Okay, folks, let me know in the comments below if my comments rang a bell and if it made it easier for you to make decisions. Take up my career assessments. The link is going to be in the description. Until next time, bye-bye. Cheers, everyone.